I'm a huge fan of getting ahead of the story. So 10 years ago, there were two major crises in the news. Does anybody remember either one of them? 10 years ago this week. Tiger Woods was one. Remember when his wife was chasing him with a golf club and he smashed into a tree? And does anybody remember what the other one was? Does anybody remember? I find that fascinating. And so to me, that's the value of leading your own story. So the other one was David Letterman. Now that I've told you the name, how many people remember the scandal involving David Letterman? Hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people. How many remember Tiger Woods? Hands up. Everybody. And I would say, again, it's not because of who they were, it was because of how they handled it. Tiger Woods, and as soon as I saw what was going on, I joke with people that when a crisis happens, I turn into Simon Cowell and I'm just judging harshly. I said, a couple days in, I'm like, the countdown to the tearful press conference has just started. And the sooner it is, the better it is. And I think it was like, I don't know, like 4, 7 months. It was a long time. But I remember there in his sweater vest with his mom in the front row, I've made some mistakes, like the Boeing CEO the other day, 8 months later. So David Letterman comes out, and hopefully this story answers the question. So Tiger Woods, crisis happens, doesn't answer, because fight or flight kicks in, right? It's not like he doesn't have access to great resources and advice. Fight or flight kicks in, and the thought people have is, I will just let it blow over. I'll let it blow over. But if you don't tell your story, guess what? Everyone else is going to tell it. So David Letterman, I'm watching his show. I was a big fan of his show, and I'm watching his show that night, and he comes out, and when he would usually start his monologue, he says the following: do you folks like stories? I'm like, I like stories, sure. Who doesn't like stories? And so he starts telling this story, and I'm like, is this a joke? Like, what's he talking about? Like, and he's like, you had this affair with the staffer, and I apologized, an extortion attempt, and someone tried to get $1 million. He went to the FBI. I'm like, what? This sounds like insane. And so he goes through, he says, I've made a huge mistake. I want to apologize to everyone. I want to apologize to my partner. I want to apologize to the network. I want to apologize to my children. I want to apologize to you, the viewers. I want to apologize to our sponsors. And I can tell you that I will never speak about this publicly again. Anyway, here's Paul Schaefer. And they go on with the show. And everyone's kind of like looking around. What the hell was that? And then I go, and keep in mind, this is 10 years ago. Twitter is like 3 years old. So I go to the New York Times. I'm like, I got to see if this is true. I go to CNN. Like, I'm trying to look for verification of this story. And of course there was none, because he was the first person to announce it. And so if you go back and, you guys ever use, what's it called? Google Trends? You can type in terms and see how popular they are news-wise and search-wise around the world. And so it was very fun when Rob Ford was running around smoking crack. So anyway, if you type in Tiger Woods and David Letterman on one chart together, Tiger Woods is like this, up and down, for 2 years. And David Letterman is a one-day triangle, one-day news story, and it just went away. To the point where 10 years later, nobody knew it proactively, and then when I asked you about the actual scandal, 4 people knew. So to me, yes. And the biggest tool is not even the media, social media. Like, that's the next year we should be talking about that, because a lot of you guys need to up your game in that area. But like, if I'm the executive director of your home and I have some like really serious situation taking place, Twitter is my best friend. I'm going to hit record. Hey guys, this is Warren from Shady Acres Home. Sorry, like, it sounds like a very Simpson made-up name. You guys might have seen a story that's taking place. Here's what we know and here's what we're doing. Put that online, no filter, no gatekeeper. Now, you're going to have to do some media interviews as well, but to me, that would be key.